Check. Okay, let's get started. Before we start, in the first week of STEM, we went on a tour. Does anybody remember that? Where did we go? NPC. We went to NPC. Well, this morning, we have the owner of NPC here. His name is Mark Barnhart, and he's going to be speaking with us. And then there's another gentleman who Mark will introduce that's going to show you some experiments and things up here. Mark Barnhart is a lifelong resident of our community. Growing up, he worked alongside his parents, Barney and Charlotte, brother Barry and sister Charlene, in the family-owned business, then known as the Blair Press, and later as News Printing Company. After attending both the Kiski School and the Pennsylvania State University, Mark purchased the business from his parents in 1987 and renamed it as NPC Inc. in 2001. Combining the practical experience learned in his youth with his formal education, Mark has served as NPC's Chief Executive Officer for over 30 years. Through Mark's leadership, NPC has grown and prospered and currently provides employment to nearly 500 central Pennsylvania residents. You could be one someday if you work hard. Throughout this time as CEO, Mark has guided NPC through a strategic transition from a traditional printing company to a broader focused information services provider. Mark enjoys spending his free time with his wife Karen, their 3 children, and this says 4, but as of yesterday there are now 5 grandchildren. Josh, wife Jessica, daughter Penelope, and baby is now here as of yesterday. Jenna, husband Brad, how do you pronounce that? Hausnick, and daughter Holland. Luke, wife Rachel, daughters Lillian and Adeline. Together they enjoy developing the farm, which is towards Altoona, on the other side of East Freedom, located in Duncansville, into a relaxing gathering place to foster relationships with all of NPC stakeholders, the employees, suppliers, customers, other businesses, and the community. Without further ado, Mark Barnhart.
Good morning, everybody. As he said, my name is Mark Barnhart. I am the Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of NPC, headquartered up the street. I know that you all were up for a visit. I saw some of you there. I'm honored to have been asked to participate here, and NPC certainly is proud to support this, the entire STEM initiative. In a few minutes, it's going to be my privilege to formally introduce a guest that I brought along, Steve Wells. I had a ton of stuff prepared for today. I can show you like stacks and stacks of notes. Then I was reminded that you already visit our facility, so you pretty much know what we do. And my wife reminded me to say a lot less. You got to understand, I really get excited about what we do. I have a tendency to overtalk. So I kind of settled on kind of giving you a brief history of our company. Before I introduce you to Steve, I think that you're going to find his stuff pretty cool. And then I'll be prepared to kind of answer any questions that you might have about our business, things that may have got triggered during your tour, or just anything you'd like to know about that I could draw on my prior business experience. Like I said, I prepared a whole bunch of stuff, all right, on strategy, how we see our future evolving, growth and transformation, challenges moving forward, how specifically technology is affecting our businesses and really challenging our relevance, specifically around game changers like connectivity, automation, artificial intelligence, and data analytics. I know you guys are studying a lot of that stuff. The rate of change in the marketplace, even up to and including attributes that we're looking for whenever we're hiring or we're looking to invest in other businesses or invest in other entrepreneurs. I even took a lot of time to write down some of the most important lessons I've learned over the years. But I'm not going to bore you with all that or overwhelm you with too much information because I don't have that much time. And most definitely don't want to cut into what Steve's going to talk about. So a little history. MPC started in 1954 as a publisher of 3 local newspapers. By the 1970s, it established itself as a full-service job printer. And today we offer, as you all saw, fully integrated print and digital solutions that really revolve around anything to do with data, information, images, and documents. By leveraging new technologies, we focus on bringing unique solutions to what are really sometimes some pretty complex problems. We handle a ton of data, information, images, and documents, and they're all mission critical to our customers, businesses, and agencies. So we moved our headquarters here to Claysburg in 1989. We work out of 2 different facilities here in Claysburg, but we also operate out of 4 others that are spread between Roaring Spring, Altoona, and Washington, D.C. It's really been a privilege to be part of the Claysburg community. We grew our business from about 100 people since we moved here to about 500, at least locally today. So that's probably enough for me. Like I mentioned before, I'll be available for any questions whenever Steve's done. And it's now my privilege to introduce to you my special guest, Steve Wells.
This on? Good. Thanks, Mark. All right, how you guys doing?
Great.
So I didn't grow up too far from here. I grew up in Altoona, and let me grab them. So I went to Altoona High School, and then I went to Penn State, and then after Penn State, I got the opportunity to work for the Boeing company. Does anybody know who Boeing is or what they do? My man.
They make really big airplanes.
They make really big airplanes. Do you know what else they make? Rockets. They make rockets, satellites, all kinds of stuff, right? And so I got the chance to work on the launch vehicle that we'll be using to put a man on Mars. And so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that stuff today. All right, so let's go ahead and start. So this is kind of, does anybody know what that is? Oh, it is the rocket. What rocket is it? My man. It is the Saturn V. What did the Saturn V allow us to do? Was it? No. Anyone? There were movies about it. No, not go to Saturn. Close though, close though. No, close. Think closer. We see it every night. Went to the moon. So we put a man on the moon with that rocket right there. And so that was back in the space race. So there's movies about it, and all kinds of cool stuff. So what we're going to kind of focus on, and what I've spent a better part of my adult life doing, is focusing on vibration and acoustics. And so as we go through these videos, think about when they talk, and they talk about the vibration and the shaking. Just think about that real quick. That's 7.5 million pounds of thrust. And you got a couple dudes sitting on top of that. But you see all the ice shaking off? That's from the
sideways shaking was unbelievable. The vibration was so intense you couldn't see the instrument panel. I thought we'd had it during the launch.
So you see the ice shedding off of the
Frank
structure?
Borman didn't have his hand on the abort controller. Well, he said he took his hand off and he'd rather die than make a false abort.
1 minute after liftoff.
And you can see it breaking the sound barrier.
Already supersonic.
Well, the sound is a powerful machine that man has ever devised. 20 tons of fuel a second, 7.5 million pounds of thrust. I think we were all surprised at how strong that thing was. It had 2 or 3 iffy missions before ours, but it was a piece of cake. It just worked good. Unbelievable.
5 engines in the first stage blast the Saturn V to 7 times the speed of sound.
The second stage cut in. Big bang.
At 40 miles high, it's still
When
accelerating.
you staged, you were thrown forward in the belts and then backward in the belts.
And I thought I was being catapulted through the instrument panel.
All sources show that the stage is burning pretty quick.
The third stage fires twice. First, the boost into orbit. The second bird takes the crew of Apollo 8, where no men have ever.
So that was a quick video of the launch, but so you think about, we saw all that ice shedding off. And so you think about, you have 7.5 million pounds of thrust, you have this huge explosion and the structure just shakes. And you know, it's kind of was my job at Boeing to make sure it wouldn't shake apart. And so just to get you an idea of how big that was, this is my friend Henry. And this is down in New Orleans, where they used to actually manufacture this stuff. And just look how giant, that's the first stage, that's the bottom of that rocket. So there's 5 F1 engines. It's ridiculous. And the fact that we put a man on the moon and there's more electronics and more processing power in your cell phones in your pocket than there was on that. So just pretty nice. So next on the lineup, does anyone know what this is? Yeah, it's a space shuttle. So does anyone know what that really allowed us to do? Oh, yeah. So we had a couple of space shuttles. We had Discovery, Atlantis, Columbia. But does anyone know what the space shuttle really, like why it was designed?
To study space.
Yes, but how did we study space? It was the International Space Station. You guys familiar with that? So it's actually 220 miles above your head right now. It's going about 15,000 miles an hour. Here. Exactly, yeah. So this whole payload bay, so you can see the crew sat on the front of the rocket, right? And then behind it's called the payload bay. And that payload bay was designed to have the segments of the International Space Station. So they brought in a segment at a time and basically were able to assemble this large station. And that's how they study stuff in space at 0 gravity. And so it's actually falling around Earth at 15,000 miles an hour. So just think about how fast that is. You're driving down the highway at 60 miles an hour. Imagine going 15,000. It's pretty ridiculous. So we're going to go ahead and watch another video. So this is the Space Shuttle Discovery launch.
16 seconds, sound suppression water system has been activated, protecting Discovery and the launch pad from acoustical energy. We have a go for main engine start. T-minus 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition and liftoff of Discovery, hoisting harmony to the heavens and opening new gateways for international science. Discovery has cleared the tower.
Houston now controlling.
Roger roll, Discovery.
But you'll see
Discovery's roll maneuver is complete. It's now in a head-down
watch this
position on
panel.
track for its flight to the
As it starts
International
getting
Space
higher in altitude, you'll start seeing it vibrate a lot more. And you'll start seeing shocks form from going past the speed of sound.
Discovery 7 miles downrange.
You see how it's really moving now?
Flying at 600 miles per hour. Discovery's engines are throttling down as the orbiter passes through the area of maximum pressure on the vehicle. Now 50 seconds into the flight.
So you notice it vibrate? All right. So finally, we have this. It's called the Space Launch System. And so first flight's supposed to be in 2018. We're going to try and get a unmanned aircraft to the other side of the moon. And then in the 2030s, we're looking to put a man on Mars. And so this is the vehicle that probably one of you sitting here might be the astronaut in. It might be the first one to step foot on Mars. And so we'll watch a quick video on this guy.
2016 is big for space. Blue Origin, a company owned by billionaire Jeff Bezos, just landed the same rocket a second time. Billionaire Elon Musk almost succeeded in landing one of his SpaceX rockets on a floating barge in high seas. These private space ventures by men with money are exciting and popular. Meantime, Boeing is quietly building something completely different, not for itself, but for NASA.
The Space Launch System is the biggest, most powerful rocket we've ever built.
The Space Launch System, or SLS, will someday take humans to Mars. If all goes according to plan and taxpayers keep willing to fund it, Boeing is building the rocket's core for NASA, which will stand 200 feet tall and measure nearly 28 feet wide.
So 8.5 million pounds of thrust. That's 31 747s at full power. That's going to be the first version of this rocket.
The first test flight is slated for 2018, and it could be crewed with humans around 2021.
The first crewed mission today is in the early mission planning, will be a mission that goes to the far side of the moon, literally farther than we've ever gone before in manned spacecraft.
It's about the coolest job on the Earth. Jackie Nesselrode's job is leading the Boeing team building the rocket inside a 42-acre facility outside New Orleans. The SLS is being welded with a new system which cuts down on weight, and it's the first rocket to be pieced together vertically.
What you're looking at is the largest welding system in the world.
It's not cheap. NASA is spending $2 billion this year on SLS, and the program could cost 9 times that. There's no clear schedule of flights beyond the first 2. No connecting the dots to Mars, but Mars is the goal.
Well, why does NASA need to own this rocket? Why doesn't it just contract out to some private company's rocket, use theirs, like it's doing with cargo shipments to the space station? Well, no company's going to invest in building a rocket this big when NASA is the only customer. There's no commercial market for it yet.
NASA's even paying to build new structures where Boeing will test the rocket's powerful fuel tanks at the Marshall Space Flight Center in Alabama.
It presents its own challenges in coming up with larger structures than we've ever had to test with before.
Here in the lab, we've got the rocket turned upside down.
The hope is to do something incredibly expensive as inexpensively as possible. Boeing has decided that means combining new with old. The first SLS rockets will use solid rocket boosters and engines from the space shuttle days.
Well, I would say that there's a place for new things. There's also a place for proven, reliable things, and things that we have in hand. Why reinvent the wheel if the wheel works?
New technology includes revolutionary welding and more efficiencies than during shuttle.
The entire facility, and had about 25, 27 tools. Today, it's about 6 or 7 tools.
The good news for NASA, Americans are currently infatuated with space again. Congress has given the space agency more money than it asked for in 2016. Whether that support will continue over the next 20 years that it'll take to get to Mars is too far over the horizon to see. Jane Wells, CNBC Business News, New Orleans.
Here's a good picture of it. So basically, when we designed, when the design came up for this rocket, we took what we learned from Saturn and what we learned from the space shuttle program and kind of said, okay, how can we build one that's going to, get us further and farther? And so you can see here what looks similar on this rocket that you saw on the space shuttle. I'll go back over here. All right, if we look at, okay, if we look at these last 2 rockets, or out of all of them, which looks similar? The boosters, right? Yeah. And then also the paint job now looks similar, right? So it's so we kind of use the stackable type approach because the Saturn V had 3 stages, and so we kind of use that approach, and then we slap solid rocket boosters on the side. And so it's kind of a combination of what we, American space. All right, so enough about space. So when you guys hear acoustics, what do you think? What do you think? Guitar? Exactly, acoustic guitar. What else? You had your hand up? Up for the what? Oh, okay. What was that? Yeah. Anything else? Well, let's see, acoustics can be all kinds of things. So I grew up as a musician. I played piano and guitar. But then I also like working on cars, so I kind of had this engineering side of me. and acoustics is where those two worlds like clash. And so it becomes the science of sound. And so it can be applied anywhere. So you have the arts, you know, you can design instruments. I have a bunch of friends that work at Bose, that work at Apple, they design your earphones, they design your iPod. There's a bunch of life sciences stuff, so there's audiologists, also earth sciences, and then in this small little area, this is where I've spent the better part of my adult life. Here is the shock and vibration and noise. And so what I deal with is how does a structure respond when it gets excited? And so that's what we'll get to talk about. So, has anyone ever heard of the term resonance? All right, we got some. Okay, so resonance, everything has resonance. And everything has elasticity and inertia, right? So elasticity is kind of the stiffness of a material, right? So everything's stiff, like this ball, right? It's hard to bend. And everything is mass, it has inertia, everything has mass. You know, you lift something up, it pushes it back. And so this constant play between this stiffness and this mass will give you a type of resonance. And we can actually, if we understand that, then we can induce resonances and some fun stuff occurs. So like here you see, we have a bouncing spring and a mass. That's kind of, in the mathematical and scientific community, that's how resonance is explained, by a simple mass spring system. And then if you have more masses at higher frequencies, you have shorter wavelengths, so now you have more oscillations in time. So you can think almost, you can have high frequency and low frequency type responses. So I don't expect you to trust me, so I'm going to have a little demo here to show you what I mean. So this is just a simple bottle, right? And you guys have probably done this with like a Pepsi bottle or something like that. And so the air inside this bottle provides some type of stiffness, okay? And then the air inside of this neck provides some type of mass. And so if I blow on it just right, I'll excite that, and then you'll end up hearing a tone. So has anyone ever done that with a bottle before? Yeah. All right, cool, see? You guys are all acousticians, right? You can go build rockets tomorrow. So basically, that's called a Helmholtz resonator. So next time you do that, you'll be like, you know what? That's a Helmholtz resonator. So you just... So, now what happens? What about if we put water in it? What's going to happen? If I can get the water in it. What did you just say? What did you say? What was the second thing? You said higher?
Yeah.
You are absolutely correct. There are a bunch of people in my classes that wouldn't have gotten that answer right, and you did, so congratulations. So, I've reduced the volume, right? I didn't do anything to mess, right? So now when I blow on it, the tone should go higher. Right? Science. Good job. All right, so what we like to call this is a single degree of freedom. We have one mass, one spring, right? So now what happens when we have more masses and more springs? Well, you can see this 1 degree of freedom system, we have one resonance, where it's kind of fluctuating in and out, right? And now on that 2 degree of freedom, we kind of have 2 different resonances, right? And so on a 3 degree of freedom system, how many resonances are we going to have? Everyone just shout the answer because we all know it is. 3, my man. All right, cool, but look at this. What's happening to that dot right there? It's not moving. So that's saying that there's some type of resonance where everything's moving around it, but at that single spot, it's not going to move. And that's an important thing to think about. And so, what happens when we have real structures, turbines, sports cars, airplanes? We can't just describe them as 1 mass, 2 mass, 3 mass. We have to describe them in these smaller elements. And so we use something called finite elements. And that's how we're able to mathematically understand what these resonances of the system are. So, another demo. So in a bar, can you confirm that this is a 6000 series piece of aluminum? Is it? You sure? It might be a 7000. You got to touch it. Okay, 6000? Right. All right, so in a bar, you'll have three different types of resonances. You have a flexural resonance, you can see on the top. You'll have a torsional resonance, and that's where kind of the bar is twisting. And then you also have this longitudinal resonance where it kind of looks like a snake or a slug. It's just kind of moving in and out. But notice what's really interesting. What's happening right there where it's purple?
It's getting cooler.
Yeah, because it's not moving, right? So it's just like what we saw where that one dot wasn't moving. And so that means if I hit it right, or I do something correct, I can excite that and actually be able to excite that mode and see what happens to the structure, right? Because here's the thing, you know, up until now in your science classes, you've always been taught static. If I push on this table, right, it's going to push back. But what happens when I start pushing and pulling at some type of speed that matches up to some type of structural resonance inside? Some cool stuff will happen. So if I just, I just hit this bar, nothing cool happens, right? But if I hold it just right, do you guys see that? So what I'm doing is I'm exciting that longitudinal mode in that bar. And see, it'll last forever. So I got some more bars. So now I got a shorter, thicker bar. What do we think the frequency is going to do? So we've kind of made that spring smaller. What was it? Try the opposite. Yes, correct. All right. So again, if I just hold it in any old place and I hit it, nothing. Nothing's going to happen. But if I hold it right, I hit it just right, cover your ear. See, don't you need this at like 6:30 in the morning to get up, I'll just come over to your house. But, so what's really interesting, and I won't blow your ears off anymore, so think about this as far as, let's go back to spacecraft, right? We have the Saturn V rocket. I got a little dude on top of this, and he wants to go to the moon. And I got engines underneath this. And what that engine's gonna do is constantly, it's just going to constantly hit it. And so that's why we have to understand how these structures react to different types of forcing functions so that we can, design spacecraft that will actually, make it where we need to go. All right. All right, so now that we looked at bars, we're going to kind of go from 1D to 2D. And now we have plates, right? And so we see the same thing. You see the purple on the plates? What's that mean? It means it's not moving. All right. Gotta get some coffee for these guys, I think. So I'm going to show how this works. I'm going to have this little demo here. And I think what we can do is, can I just have like different rows of kids come up at a time? Is that cool with all you guys? Okay. So I'll show you what I have here. So who likes speakers? All right, see, everyone makes sense. All right. So what this is a terrible speaker. And so, that big magnet on the back of your speaker? That's what this is, okay? And then you have the cone, and that's what radiates sound, and that's what you hear. I'm going to put a metal plate on it. And so I have all this hooked up to an amplifier. And like I said, it's a terrible speaker. You can play music through it. It's not that. So you can see it's just a terrible speaker. Let me play another song that actually can hear. Just as some Ed Sheeran. through just a terrible speaker. It's one, but you can't tell because it's going through this plate. It is, yeah. All right. Cool. So there was this German scientist, and this was back in the day, science was magic. Because, we didn't know, we weren't as smart then as we are now. And so there was this guy, his name was Ernst Schladny. And what he used to do is he grabbed this, he had a square plate, and then he had a violin bow, and he would kind of rub the bow against the plate to excite the structure in the plate, and then he had sand on it. You can actually see where the plate wasn't moving, and he was making art. And so he would take this around and look like magic, because you can make designs on this plate appear out of nowhere. And so that's what we're going to do today. So how about the first three rows come here and just kind of chill around. All right, so you guys want blue sand? Okay. Look as I pour sand on it. You can see where they're all going. They're all going to the place in the plate that's not moving. Right? Just similar to what we saw with that bar. And so now if I increase the frequency, like your finger, hold your ears. Cool, huh? So it's nuts. You think, so the plate's not moving in any of those places, it's moving everywhere else except for there. Cool? Alrighty. How about the next 3 rows? Come on down.
Don't hold your ear. Do not hold your ear.
There you go.
No, wow.
So I'll use some red sand for you guys. So if I go ahead, this is just normal sand I got off Amazon. See, as I vibrate that plate, it all goes toward the places in the plate that's not moving. Right? You can even, put your hand on it, you can feel air coming off of the plate. It's radiating sound. And that's what your ears hear. There. And so now, if I go to a higher frequency, go back to 95. Alright, how about the last rows? Come on down.
It's a bourbon.
Alright, so we use blue for you guys. So I'm shaking this plate at 95 times a second. See how all the sand, no matter where I put it, it's all going to gather at the places where the plate's not moving. And now if I excite it enough a higher frequency, How about everyone else can see? Yes. Everyone see it? Okay, cool. A little bit of silence. All right, so you guys saw what happened at that low frequency. We saw, I good on time? So at this low frequency, we saw what? These two lines of places where it's not moving, right? Now, when we went up to 550 hertz, we saw 4 lines, right? Why? Why do you think that is? Exactly. So the higher the frequency, the smaller the wavelength, right? It's just like when you play a guitar. Your top string is thinner, then it's higher. And so you can almost see the waves is getting smaller through the structure. And then what happens is once we get to these higher frequencies, like 600 hertz, 900 hertz, the wavelengths start coming in from the side and they start adding and subtracting. And so now you can see, you kind of get these complex shapes. So how does this have anything to do with space vehicles, getting to Mars, getting to the moon, whatever it may be? So, turns out you can model the SLS as a full structure as a bar. So as it's flying through the atmosphere, it's going to go ahead and respond like a bar. And so that's exactly how we model it. That's how we model it. We model it as a bar. And then the interior, we can model it as a shell or a plate, just exactly what you saw here. We do the same exact thing. And then all of the other stuff, all the valves, all the computers, all the other stuff that controls the aircraft, we model as these spring mass systems. And so when you couple that all together, you're able to understand the dynamics of aircraft. And that's a key understanding to be able to put something into space and to design a structure that's complex. So, again, so in order for resonance to occur, we need 2 things. What are the 2 things? My man. Yeah? Inertia. Yeah. All right, can we all say that? Elasticity. Come on. Like we want to go to Mars. Elasticity. All right, okay. And what's the other one? Inertia. Okay, cool. Very nice. And so, and also, another takeaway from this is, statically, you push on something, it pushes back. And kind of what you saw today was dynamics, right? You're pushing and pulling something really fast. And so here's a picture of, we use wind tunnels to try and understand how the structure is going to move. And then we also do these large tests where we basically put a big speaker and just blare it with sound and see what happens. You've got to wear headphones. Okay. So, with that, do you have any questions for either Mark or I? Gotta be questions about Mars or something. You'll get a bulldog buck if you ask the question, right? All right, we got one person. Good. The highest speed. Okay, so she asked, that's a really good question. So she asked how fast will this rocket be able to go? So, do we know what the speed of sound is? It's like 800 mile an hour, right? And so when you're in space, there's no air, and so you can go faster and faster. So I really don't know that question. That's a really good answer. That's a really good question. Yeah. Yes. And it takes people to think that to do that. How long did it take to build a rocket? So, how many years? What was the space shuttle in development for? Do you know, Brent? How long did it take to make the space shuttle? Like 10 years? 10 to 15 years. Depends how much your congressman wants. Good question. All these good questions. So they're working on that now. So they have you guys have seen the movie The Martian, right? So what was that? You guys remember the Ares program? That's kind of what his badge was. That's what everything was the Ares program. And that the The rocket that I showed you today is what the Ares program transitioned into. I do not know. I would definitely get on top of the rocket, but I don't know if I'd live in Mars. Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, that's one of the things that would, you would have more space travel, and it would be better funded if they did find a rock or some material or some rare metal. Oh yeah. Oh man. Okay, so his question was, how many years from now do we think we'll capture asteroids and mine them? So, that's an interesting question. So, there are two trains of thought, right? The next step is, do we go to Mars, do we go to the moon, or do we try and grab an asteroid and basically do that? And so NASA right now, as far as I know, they're working on all three of those. And so I would say in the 2020s, it wouldn't be, too far off.
How complicated are the controls?
Are the controls?
Yes.
Really complicated. By myself? Yes, all the time. Yeah, not this big. I only build the little ones. But with 3D printing and all that stuff now, you guys can build a rocket in a weekend.
What is the biggest space shuttle?
So the space shuttle is made out of aluminum. So just like that bomb that I was carrying around, that's the same type of material. How high is it? So what's interesting about the Space Launch System is it's taking parts from the space shuttle and putting them on a new platform. And so it's actually using technology from 1990. And so it's actually maybe about 15 years old. And so it isn't the latest and greatest, but it's just like you saw my old manager say, if the wheel works, why make a new one? Sorry. Brent?
Next field time going to take us to Mars.
Oh, that's
We're going to
wonderful.
do an hour to go to St. Martin.
Oh, well,
So your
fantastic.
comments have been perfect. I've been cheering you back.
Okay. Well, so you guys should all get excited. Are they all going to be here for the next one?
What's that?
The same group?
Yeah.
Oh, you guys will get to answer half these questions when Brent talks. My man. Yeah. That's my job. And that's a really good question. So, when you have these rockets, so imagine you have a large explosion, and between you and that explosion, you have this, right? It's going to shake. And so it was my job to make sure that the structure would vibrate, so that the pilots would pass out or the machine would fall apart. And so it's a really hard engineering. So there is, are you going to talk about Orion, Brent? Brent, are you going to talk about Orion?
I'm going to talk about the whole spectrum, but yeah.
Okay. Oh, so you'll hear from Brent. So basically the new vehicle that's going to take us to Mars is called Orion, and it's developed by Lockheed Martin. They can sit about 4. And then Boeing and SpaceX have their own capsule as well. It's about 4 or 5 people. And so, basically the size of the kitchen in your house is pretty much space there. Well, that's it. Are you going to go over that? How long it gets to Mars? Oh, I
Yes, I have video.
Okay.
I'm trying to do a live presentation.
Okay. I'm not going to answer that because I don't want to ruin it. But it's probably 6 to 8 months. Okay. I've been able to tour rockets that have landed. I've never been there before. Taken off. But they're not. So well, all the pieces? Right now, they're probably a couple months. That's how long it takes to build that structure. Because what they do is they build to see how, you can see these guys welding inside. So that's how large the structure is. Those are 2 grown men welding. That's how large the inside of this rocket is. And so you can see they put a cylinder and they kind of stack it on top of each other and build up this large structure. Oh, he has that. I don't want to ruin it for you guys because next talk you guys will find out. What about 16?
Where was the next rocket?
These rockets, the Space Launch System will take off at Kennedy Space Center where the stuff goes off. Okay. Depends upon the propulsion, because when in space you don't have air, so you can just go as fast as you want, there's no resistance, right? But when you're in the atmosphere, we do analysis up to about Mach 3. So, all right. Mark, any questions for Mark or Jeff?
Where are the rockets launched?
Kennedy Space Center. So he asked where the rockets launched. It was Kennedy Space Center in Florida. You guys can go visit.
How many people are in the rocket when it takes off?
Depends on what capsule. He asked how many people are in the capsule. And so depends upon what capsule you look at. There's a capsule called the Orion capsule. And that has about 4 to 5. Okay. Run out of bucks. All right, last one. Oh, perfect. He asked Mark how many people worked at MPC in all the buildings, and the answer was 600. So, I think that's all we got. One more here. That circle? Well, that's a good question. So, that circle, you can see all of these. Does this have a laser pointer? Oh, it does. Okay. So you see these stringers here? So each one of those is one barrel panel.